If you came from the live stream where I just dropped the premiere, then I want you to do me a favor. Put a 1 in chat. What I'm going to do is I'm going to be showing you what we talked about very briefly. And that is what to do with your money, what to do with your valuables when you get them home. Talking about how you store them, where you store them, what should be locked, what shouldn't be locked. Talking about how you talk about what you stack or what you collect. And we've also talked about the physical security measures that you need to do. And one of the slides, I mentioned something called OPSEC. OPSEC, for those of you who don't know, is operational security. And the sheet that I have on the screen right now is available for you in that video's description as well as this live stream's description. Now, this isn't something that you have to follow verbatim. This is something that you can use to assess and to evaluate your home and your transport to or from an event. Doesn't matter if it's a jewelry or a coin show. This can be applied in all instances. If you're a parent, I highly recommend you take this information and share it with your kids. If you have teenage daughters or young women in the household, teach them this. Look at various aspects of OPSEC and apply these strategies. This is not just for coin collectors and stackers. This is for everyone. All right. So the first thing that I want to do is I want to just talk about the pillars of OPSEC, and then I'll bring Tiger Stacker up and we will talk about what we do in this in a guided discussion. Number 1, identify critical information. What is it that you're trying to protect? Maybe it's your family. Maybe it's your friends. Maybe it's your wealth. Whatever it is, you have to make an assessment of that. So figure out what that is. Once you know that, you can begin to do number 2, analyze the threats. Assess your adversaries. Who might be looking at or for your stuff? A great example of this, just in your normal home, is the keypads to get into your home. Make sure that you stand in front of it, that you can't see it from either sides to protect yourself from somebody who could be watching on the street. Simple positioning of yourself is a really easy deterrent and a good countermeasure to prevent that particular threat. You have to analyze your vulnerabilities. Find out what weaknesses you have in your routine that could be exploited. If you're one of these people that has to pee every 5, 10, 15 minutes, and you have to do frequent potty breaks, well, guess what? If somebody's aware of that and they've been watching you, it's easy for them to assess when they can get your stuff. So it's important to understand that. The last one is assessing the risk. I'm going to a coin show. I probably need to look at a few things. I'm going to a stacking conference. I'm going to a jewelry conference. I'm going to a fine art show. I'm going to an auction house. It doesn't matter where you're going, assess the risk. I want to remind you something. Number 1, and this is probably the most important, you have to remember that when you're doing something like this, it's not just a simple matter of you getting into a sedan. See, right now, you are a transporter with a precious load of cargo. And if you think of it that way, OPSEC is much easier to plan because of the way you're thinking. All right, my friend Tiger, how are you? Good day, sir.
How you doing, Frosty? I'm doing good. How about yourself?
I am doing well. I'm going to drop this screen so we can just see us in the vertical mode. I am doing very well. Thank you for asking. And I appreciate you coming up. Now, I've shown this in here. You can see this. And one of the questions in chat already is, what is OPSEC? So, Tiger, what is OPSEC to you?
I don't know the exact acronym itself, but basically it sounds like assessing what you're up against, how to deal with it, executing it if you have to, reassessing and repeat.
So That's a good, but OPSEC itself stands for Operational Security. That's what OPSEC actually stands for.
Okay.
But you're right. It is a way of looking at and assessing, hey, do we have the right things implemented? Are we looking at, the protection of ourselves? Miss Aloha, what's going on? How are you doing? So it's very important that you assess your situation. Now, the sheet that I just had on the screen, you can see this here. It's still here. I have it up on the vertical mode. But in the horizontal mode, I just removed it. I can bring it back up if you want to. But the one thing that I want to address on this is that this is a constant thing. Now, I have this little poll in chat, and pretty much everybody who's looking at it is saying always. That's exactly right. This is something that is a forever instance. You should always be looking at these things, because when you're talking about OPSEC, operational security, it's not just a one-time set it and forget it. It's actually something you really do have to manage each and every time. Because depending upon your location, depending upon where you're going, the situation might be feeling a little bit differently. So you're going to have to take those into account when you're looking at assessing that particular trip. This is not something you do once, set it, forget it. That's important to remember. All right, so I'm going to ask a few questions, and we'll kind of talk about this. Tiger, you and I really haven't discussed a lot about what we're doing in this particular realm. And again, folks, if you find this interesting, please share it out. Subscribe if you want to. But again, there's a lot of different secs, OPSEC, PERSEC, SciSec. Yes, exactly. But the one thing that's important with OPSEC is when we're talking about physical metals, when we're talking about collectabilities, what I'm talking about now is to, at, and leaving the coin show, or leaving the jewelry show, or leaving the bullion depository, or leaving wherever that might be. There are things that you need to assess. And so we're going to kind of be talking about that. I'm going to be asking Tiger some questions. And again, this isn't an assessment of Tiger. This is just general questions, because a lot of people, if you don't frequently train in this, Tiger, I know that you were prior military, you've trained in OPSEC, but you haven't dealt with it for a number of years. I still deal with a portion of it because of my IT background and some of the stuff that I have to do. I was prior military as well. I have a lot of friends that are officers. One of the things I go through USAA for insurance company. This is not a promotion, not a sponsor. But one of the things that they do periodically is they ask if you want to do an assessment. And then you can walk through, they ask you some questions, they assess some of your items. They tell you things that you can implement, and then you get better rates based off of what you implement. They can send an adjuster out to look at it. It's a really cool program. If you're a part of USAA, ask them about a vulnerability or an OPSEC assessment. See what they can help you with. Again, they are not sponsors, so I just want to make sure that that's not confused. So let's look at being a coin dealer. Let's look at being a person who goes to a show, or maybe they're going to go to their bullion place. And so the one thing that a lot of people are like, well, Frosty, why am I worried about this? Okay, really, why am I worried about this? Oh, outstanding, Sean. Thank you so much for serving. I absolutely appreciate that. Retirement is feeling pretty nice. You got to love that. Thanks for your service. I appreciate you. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is looking at targets. Right? Now, people go, well, Frosty, I'm going to a coin show. There's security, there's armed guards, there are cameras. What do I have to worry about? There's a lot of things that happens. There's a lot of stuff that can happen too. A lot of stuff that can happen while you're there. And there's a lot of people, or there's a lot of things that can happen afterwards. So there's a lot of stuff that you want to do. So I'm going to ask you, Tiger, real quick, the most dangerous time for a person, whether a dealer, collector, stacker, whatever, isn't at the show or at home. It's in what phase?
When they least expect it.
Okay, so what phase is that? When is something most likely going to happen to you when you have gone to a coin show and you've picked up bullion, silver, gold, or you go to the pawn shop, you go to the coin show? When is something most likely going to happen to you?
One of which is, in my opinion, when you're going after you've purchased, going to your vehicle. Another one is if you happen to go to the bathroom with your belongings.
Okay. Or they know that you left there, they're following you, and they see that you run in to use the restroom. They know that something's in your car. Transitional areas. There you go. Kinomine, ground fog. Way to listen. So the transition phases. This is when you're driving to and from the event. Why is to a big deal? A lot of people, you got cash. That's right. You got a lot of money. They can follow you from an ATM. Again, there's options. You have to think about this. A lot of people think about the fact that they go to a coin show, and after they do it, that's when they have their valuables. Cash is valuable, folks. So going to the coin show is something that is just as important. Going to that art show or whatever it might be. And Amy, yeah, exactly right. Pickpockets, right? There's ways to store your money. Okay. Yeah, surveillance, right? Always looking at these things. These are all things that we should be looking at. But not just in surveillance, also in counter surveillance. There's also a thing called coin. And I love this for teaching purposes as being a collector, but that's counterinsurgency. Now, counterinsurgency is medical, it's battle-based, but there's still a coin-based effort. And counterinsurgency means thinking like them, and how do you deter that, right? So how do you overcome the obstacles, and how do you insert that? One is considered for wartime, one is considered for just normal safety operations. When you're in a military standpoint, convoy operations, when you're driving to or from your location, is a very dangerous place. And if you hear about the military members who are coming back from Afghanistan and Iraq and all those places, when were they hit? Either in a firefight or during transport. It's because you're isolated, you're stuck in a single place, and you make yourself vulnerable. So it's important to understand what you need to look for, being around or familiar with your surroundings, not taking the same route every time. There's a lot of different things that you can implement. And as I said at the very beginning of this, you have to remember the rule. There is one unaccessible rule, or one undeniable rule, excuse me. And that rule is to put into chat, okay? That rule is that you're not a collector driving a sedan. You're a high-value courier transporting an asset, okay? A secured asset. If you think that way, you are automatically going to be making better decisions because you're going to be in the right frame of mind to think about what needs to be done. I hope that makes sense. If there are any questions whatsoever, please put them in chat and we can discuss those.
And you don't necessarily have to be carrying anything valuable. They could perceive you have something. Years ago, I was going to my home. I rented a farmhouse. There's 5 different ways to go there. And I would mix it up. And this one evening, this vehicle followed me the entire way. And I finally pulled over to a berm in the road, told my son to get down flat. And I was basically about 500 yards away from the driveway. So I was in a position where I couldn't tolerate any more following. I hopped out of the car, pointed my weapon right at the driver, and walked straight at him. They took off like a bat out of hell. Well, thing I forgot to tell you was they stopped right behind me in the berm after I stopped. And then another time when I was in that same farmhouse, this dad and possibly 2 sons came up to my house saying that their car wasn't starting. I was out in the middle of nowhere. If they were running their car, their alternator should have kept the car going. And how do I know who's around the corner? So the dad decided to open up the screen door, which I pulled out with my weapon, pointed it right at his head. Don't open that second door. Those 2 kids will be orphans.
So we're going to get into that aspect of it. Again, that's the last ditch effort when it comes to OPSEC, right? Is drawing a weapon. That's your last ditch. So I don't want to jump straight into that because that's going to give people the wrong idea of
Which
what.
I understand.
Yeah.
But it can escalate very quickly without you even knowing it happened.
And if you don't have a plan, right, and that's Steve Reeves, or Sean Reeves, excuse me, says stay vigilant and exercise 2A within legal limits. That's absolutely right. Right. So you need to make sure you understand what it is that you do. But before you even think about that, you have got to assess this other stuff first. If you don't, number one, there's training, there's practice, there's all those things. Because if you don't think about this frequently, when it comes, it happens fast and furious. And if you don't have your wits about you, it's over before you know it. So be very careful. And again, if you're going to carry, go practice with it. Understand pulling things out and doing stuff like that. I'm not going to talk about the words simply because I don't want the YouTube algorithm to freak out on me, but you guys know what I'm referencing. And again, it's important to understand that. Oh, yeah. And see, Greg says somebody was followed from LCS and robbed. It happens. And we need to be thinking about this. This is something that it should be on our minds. Not to the point of causing us anxiousness or anxiety, but we definitely want to be looking at this a little bit more carefully. Okay. All right. So let's go to the next one. Now, this is something that may sound really silly. Okay. And I get this. And if you work in the military, you work in a government building, or you work in a proprietary office in the public sector, you are going to have to remove your badge before you leave that building, especially if it's a security badge. And moving that badge prevents people from either getting access to what that badge looks like or getting your information from that badge through a quick capture or video of that badge, as they walk by or whatever. And so removing your badge when you leave a coin show is important. It absolutely is very important. And you have the lanyard. Tucking it into your shirt isn't removing it. Physically remove the lanyard. Don't walk out to your parking lot doing that. Don't walk through your hotel. Go to the bar. Talk about your purchases while wearing your thing. And then tell everybody you're going to go up to the third floor, drop your stuff off, and then we'll go out to the casino afterwards. Loose lips sink ships. We're going to get there in just a moment. But again, remove your badge. It's too much information. It doesn't need to be there. Now, why do I say this? Well, I talked to Eric Beyer, who was at the Fun Show this last weekend. There were expected 25,000 people. What were they buying? Silver. Tons and tons and tons of silver was being sold. In fact, places like SD Bullion were completely out. And so people know silver's high. It's valuable. People know that there's a lot of opportunities for this. And so they're going to be looking at it. Now, it'll be interesting to see what happens when it's all done and to find out if there were any thefts at the coin show. And we always find out stuff like that in a couple of days. But just remember, when you're going to large events, it's easier for the people who are the would-be actors to blend in. Smaller coin shows, it might stand out a little bit better, but not always. So just be careful about that. Okay, number 2. Don't be carrying your bag that says the A&A World Fair of Money or PCGS. Put them in an old diaper bag. Get a generic grocery sack. The diaper bag is the fun one. Put it in a diaper bag and throw a couple diapers and some wipes on top of it. Hide your valuables down below. There's a lot of different things that you can use to hide and disguise your money. Really nice backpacks, really nice chest pieces. Make sure that they are cut proof, just like you would if you're going across the pond or you're going overseas or they're coming over here. Buy stuff that is resistant to blades, right? So make sure the stuff that you're carrying, yeah, it looks cheap and weak, but make sure it's durable and strong. A quick slash of a blade and that purse is gone. A quick slash of a slat and that backpack is gone. And those nice little Velcro holders that have that plastic one, somebody can bump you, pop that off of you. They can be gone before you even realize what happened. So make sure that the pieces that you're leaving with that are kind of hidden and secure, make sure they're in something that is securely attached to your body. And the last thing you want to avoid is don't stand in the hotel lobby and drink and talk about the stuff that you bought. There are people who sit in lobbies specifically for this. A great example of we were looking at we were in Europe and we were in London. We were getting ready to take off and do our big tour of Europe. We were going to 7 different countries, 23 stops. It was going to be an amazing thing. Well, there was a man who walked into the lobby of the hotel. One of the people that was in our group had left his bag, his jacket, and a little backpack. His wife had left a duffel bag, her big suitcase, and a really nice attaché kit. Well, when they went to leave, the attaché kit and the bag were gone. Well, guess what was in it? Their money, their passports, their cell phones, their itinerary, everything. And so being aware of where you're at, don't loiter in lobbies. Just don't do it. It's not a good thing. What other places, Tiger, would you not want to loiter or be around after being something like this?
Around a bunch of people I don't know. If you're thinking about a specific place, you named a lot of them. The only thing that seems to make sense to me is if I don't know someone, that's probably not a good bunch of people to hang out with. They're not vetted.
Yeah. And so, again, it's one of those things where when you're at a coin show, there's a lot of excitement. There's a lot of people. Again, talking with Eric on Sunday, Eric, buyer of copper coins. If you don't know who that is, you need to go check out Copper Coins. While you're there, subscribe, tell him Frosty sent you. The important thing about talking with him was that he got to meet a lot of other YouTubers. He got a lot of people that he got to chat with and talk with, and got to walk around and look at different stuff. And in that time frame, people stop in the hallways, people stop in the passageways, people go to grocery stores, restaurants, gas stations together. They haven't seen each other for years, and they're getting together. They hang out. They go to the bar, have a couple beers. And what happens when you go back and look at this? Andrew Sell said, I sold my silver at 44. Ouch. But it happens. I sold some at 50. I should have saved it for a little while, but it's okay. We all make mistakes. But if you got profit, then you're good. So not a problem. Especially if you bought it at like $4. Barbara Wawa, what's going on? Good to hear you on air. Appreciate you being here. All right. So yeah, absolutely right. Okay. So real quick, I want you guys to put a 1 in chat. If you have ever worn your badge at dinner after a coin show, put a 1 in chat if you've done it. I'm going to put a 1 in chat, because I've made that mistake a couple of times. I know that I have done that. This is an assessment. Now, why is Frosty talking about this? Well, because when I research this stuff, normally I do it because I have self-interest in it. And when I learn, I like to share it with people. I really like to make sure that I track these things. Coach says too, and that's probably because he's never been to a coin show. There you go, Tiger 3, never gone to a coin show. Never been to a coin show. Well, this is really good. You guys have the opportunities to think about what could happen the first time you go, put things in perspective, and actually go with a plan. So this is beneficial to everybody. All right. Where would the next place? So you're at the coin show. You got the lobby. Where might another place that, let's talk about a hotel or the convention center. Where's another place that you might want to look at? Maybe check some stuff out before you get ready to leave.
Elevator.
Okay. Why the elevator?
You don't know who's in there with you. You don't know what they know. You don't know what they know about you.
Okay. So in other words, don't talk in the elevator.
Not only don't talk in the elevator, try not to talk around the elevator.
Where else?
Stairways.
Nope. Not what I'm thinking. Bigger. Think about leaving the event.
Parking lot.
Perfect. Parking lots. There's a lot of different things, gas stations, any place where you have to step out of your car in that transition area. Ladies, listen up. You guys have heard the stories about somebody getting out of their car. They leave their car running. They go to get gas. As soon as they're done, they go to turn around. They put their gas handle and somebody drives off with their car. Or their car is there, but somebody stole their purse. Be aware of your surroundings. The same practices that you would take place when you go to get gas or you go to the grocery store, these are the same things you should be looking out for. If there's a piece of paper on your windshield, you see it when you get into your car, drive away. Don't stop. When you get back out, your keys are going to be there. You make yourself a better target. When you get into your car, lock your doors. Don't roll down your windows until you're already in motion. It might be hot, but there are things you need to consider. Or when somebody's in the car sitting next to you, right? Look around and see if there are vans with tinted windows. Doesn't mean that they're necessarily a problem, but it's a good place. If you're isolated in a parking lot, has somebody been sitting there, maybe followed you in, or just been sitting there ever since you've been in there? If you've been in a grocery store or something like that and somebody's been walking around, grab manager, grab security. We have security at our grocery stores nowadays. Same thing happened when you're dealing with your precious metals or leaving something from an art show where you have silver metals or gold or fine coins, whatever it is, doesn't matter. These are things you want to be observant for. Here's the thing. If you're leaving a coin show and you feel like somebody's following you, turn your butt around, go back inside and contact security. Have them look, have them monitor. They can walk around. They can have somebody shadow you. They'll deter that person, detain that person, whatever, to get you away. They can engage local police. Again, it's important if you feel that somebody's following you. And again, you have to understand that you may not notice, and that's fine. But being observant, it's about identifying the one thing you might be able to stop before it becomes a problem. And so whatever you can do to do that. If you're on the road already, there is nothing to say, hey Siri, where is the closest? I got to turn my phone off. I knew it was going to do that. Where is the closest police substation? Where is the closest security outfit? Where is a local store, somewhere that's open? Where is whatever it is, right? Try to find a place that you can get to. Stopping at a police substation, you'll be amazed at how quickly that detours people from following you anymore. Tiger Stacker just gifted 5 gifted membership. Mike Sliles, Pyle Anthony, B. Wood, Silver Sonomer, and Big Flip. Outstanding. I haven't seen Big Flip's name for a while. Sean, don't unlock your vehicle from a distance with the fob. Use the fob to locate your vehicle. That's correct. Yeah, especially when you're carrying valuables. That's a really good one. The other thing is put your damn phone away. Okay? Don't be looking at your phone on your way out to your car. You're not being observant. You're not looking at the things around you. You're not looking to see if somebody's sitting in a parked car. You're not seeing if their engine's running. You don't see that there's a van with a big side door open. Pay attention to what's going on. Put your phone away. There's plenty of times to be on your phone. When you're carrying a bunch of precious metals, that is not the time to be distracted. Focus. Okay? The other thing that you want to do a quick walk around your car before you unlock it. If one of your tires is flat, don't unlock the door. go back inside. Notify security. If you have AAA, as you're going inside, contact AAA. If you have an insurance company, contact your insurance company and say, hey, I have a flat tire. It looks like it's been slashed. I would like to have somebody come in and do that. Can you also send a police officer to make sure that there's not somebody here that would do whatever? They will help take care of those things. If you have OnStar, push the OnStar button remotely from your telephone as you're walking back inside. Do not get into your car. Again, do not unlock your car. Because once you're in the car and your car is locked, you're there. You have nobody to go to, so be very careful with that. The final thing with parking is what they call combat parking. Okay, and this is, if you can, and you guys, some of you may have to practice this, back your car in to your spot. This allows for a more rapid exit, and it removes the capability of somebody pulling in behind you as you're pulling out and you hitting them. If you see, when you start to pull out, you see somebody coming for you, like coming out, you can stop. But if you're backing up, you'll lose field of view. So be careful not to back up. So again, combat parking, back in, and yep, absolutely, egress. And there are two things if you're wondering why you can't see everybody's chat. There's two different streams going on right now. But again, when you're looking at doing that, you have to think about ways to get in and out quickly and reliably, the most safe you can. So think about that. And you're going to have to practice some of these things, because if you don't, again, you don't practice, you're not going to do it. So you were wondering, well, tell me what you were wondering. Oh, so here's the other thing. I have a question for you. You have a bag of silver, now let's say 25 ounces, and you're on your way to your car. You already got your keys in your hands. Or do you have to stop and go through your pockets to find them? What would you say? Would you have your keys out before you get to your car, or do you just secure your possession and then grab your keys when you get there?
I would think you have them in your hand.
Okay. What about chat? What do you guys think?
The advantage of having the keys is you can get in, and if they're old-timey keys, not fobs, you can use it as a weapon.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And they tell you to put the key between your fingers. Be very careful when you do that. If you do two keys, you can pinch the holy hell out of yourself and bust a knuckle. So you got to be careful with that. But yeah, you definitely want to put your keys on a hand. Do you want to put your finger through one of the rings of the keys for easier access?
No.
Hell no.
You can break it. But you can put it, if you have a bunch of keys, you can put them in between your fingers. And it's what was taught to me was a poor man's brass knuckles. Actually,
okay,
they're probably worse.
So that's actually a really bad idea. And I'll tell you why. The reason that's a bad idea is because you can pinch and they can grab those keys. Now they have access and control of you. What Elle just said in chat is absolutely correct. A single key or two keys together between those two fingers, and that's all. You can punch, you can hold your thing there, but it doesn't pinch your other ones. And if they grab it, you can just simply let it go. If you trap that between your fingers, they can grab both of these. Now they have positive control over you. Never put multiple keys on your fingers. That is a bad idea. So ladies, if you've ever been taught that, don't do it. One single key or two keys together between those two fingers, and that's all. Okay, be very careful with that. Or you can be devoted. Yeah, you got to be careful for that too. Lock clips are good. Use them to hook them to your pants, easy purse, secure them. They can be, but you have to be very careful with those as well. Again, they can be pulled off. Somebody can take those and then take your car. I would much rather somebody take my valuables in my car than, jeopardize me with any bodily harm. But again, with those keys, do not put them between multiple fingers. If they gain positive access to those, you're screwed. Okay, so be very careful. I'm glad you said that, though, because again, there's a lot of potential misconceptions out there. You need to make sure that you're not falling into them.
Interesting.
Let's see. The route. The route is a good one. Now, Sean, you've been very active. I'm going to actually ask you not to answer this one. He's over here talking fobs and assets and sipper, nipper. he's been military. He knows all these things. So just for the sake of chat, I'm going to ask you not to answer this one. SDR. Does anybody know what SDR is? This is something that is completely underutilized. He's like, yes, sir. No, I appreciate it. Your knowledge is off the chart. I appreciate what you're saying and what you're bringing, chat. I really do. But what I want to do is I want to give people the opportunity who might know something else about this to chime in, just to gauge in the discussion. My grandma kept a Raid can by the front door. Oh, man. I'll tell you what. Pepper spray is good, but some of those bug chemicals, you got to be careful because they'll come back and they'll sue you later. So you got to be careful what you put up there. I carry a case. A gold maple. That's okay. So I'm seeing satellite Dava receiver. No, that is an SDR, by the way. SkyQuest. Leave it to SkyQuest to talk about being a ham radio operator. You like how I played that? That was funny. But yeah, so SDR and ham. Stand, defend, repeat. Nope. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and drop this. I'm going to put this in here. The SDR is the surveillance detection route. Now, the surveillance detection route is something that, and again, I'm going to provide you this stuff so you don't have to worry about it. I'll generate a sheet just like I did with the other one and then provide it in this live stream later on. So the surveillance detection route is something that police officers and other people use to help identify if somebody's actually following you. It causes them to reveal themselves. Oh, Sean's also a ham. Outstanding. Nice. So there's something called the 3 turns rule. And this is something that is, you see this in spy movies. You see this in movies like that. I think somebody's following me. We'll make 3 right turns. People drive logically. If you make 3 right turns, it means you're driving in a circle or exiting a highway and immediately getting back on. Now, here in San Antonio and these areas in Austin, Houston, Dallas, we have places where you can get on the freeway and get right back off. And that's fine because it bypasses a traffic light. Not a big deal. But to get off and get right back on, either you don't know where you're going or you're being followed. But 3 right turns will essentially tell people that you're driving in a circle. If you make 3 right turns and then you go to make that 4th one to get on, or 3 left turns, same thing. Right turns are more efficient because you don't have to stop and cross traffic. The right turn method is actually more efficient and safer for you. Because as you turn, you don't have additional traffic. There's nobody that can come block you off. So the right-hand turn is safer. If you can make right-hand turns, that's the way to do it. Actually, fun fact, you all ship or have received packages. Do you know that some companies will only allow their drivers to make right-hand turns? And they map their routes based off of it. That's an interesting topic. We may talk about that one time. I've got a friend who's a driver for UPS, and he can explain that. By the way, if you didn't know, Federal Express and UPS were merging. Did you know that, Tiger?
No, I didn't know that.
They're going to call the company Fed Up.
God, I should see that coming.
What is a live stream without a dad joke, right? All right.
But that what you were talking about the turns, even though I was never taught the three rights or whatever, when I was dealing with living in that farmhouse, I knew I had 5 different routes to take, and I took multiple deviations, changing which direction I was going. and I knew that that guy was following me because no one would make those many crazy turns like I did.
Yeah, and again, you don't have to make a whole lot. Again, if you make 3 or 4 right or 3 or 4 left-hand turns, you're going to know pretty quickly.
But when
The
you're out
one
in the
thing,
when you're out in the farmlands, they're not, like highways and streets. They were country roads.
coaches, is 3 right turns is called a Michigan left. That's funny. But yeah, and again, you can be going down a 4-lane road and make a U-turn, and then if somebody turns around, make a U-turn again. That is a clear indicator, right? And so there's a number of different ways to do this. But the point is, people drive logically. If you do something illogically and somebody follows you, it's a pretty good indication you might be being followed. Now, it's not a definite, okay? People do dumb stuff. And if somebody thinks they know where you're going, they may be following you simply because they don't know where they're going. So just because somebody following you doesn't mean that they're following you for a necessarily bad reason. But again, if you think you're being followed, do not go home. Go to a police substation or a busy hospital entrance, something like that, okay? And last thing, you almost all have telephones, okay? Use your telephone and call and just say, hey, I think I'm being followed. Here's what's going on. Here's a description of the car. If it's night, you can't necessarily see the color. See if you can get a decent idea of maybe the clothing, or they're wearing hats or whatever it is. Be as descriptive as possible. Tell the police officer where you're driving. When you see the police officer or something, the fire department, when you see something like that, then when they tell you, okay, well, I'm 4 cars or 5 cars behind you, say, okay, I'm going to do an SDR. I'm going to make a couple right-hand turns and we can see if that person's following us, right? And so they will know what's happening. And if they make that 3rd right turn, they can kick their sirens, pull that person over, and then give you time to do your escape, okay? So there are ways to do this. Don't be afraid. I can guarantee you every officer would rather be on a call that is not a problem than to be on the call that was the one that went sour. Okay? Now, it doesn't mean just randomly call them and say, hey, I want an escort home. They'll fine you. So be careful like that. But again, there's a whole lot of stuff that you can do to engage in this. All right. How many of you, and this is either a 1 in chat or a 2 in chat, how many of you have left your house in the morning to go to work, and then all of a sudden you kind of have an epiphany that you're at your workstation working and like a half hour's already gone by? You don't really think about getting to work. You don't remember flashing your badge. You don't remember coming through a gate. You don't remember anything. All of a sudden you're just working. How many people has that happened to? I know what's happened to me.
You get in a rut.
Well, you get into a rut, but it's actually called something and you need to be careful. Jack, what's going on? Marion, North Carolina. Good to see you. Thank you so much. 5 a.m. in the dark. Absolutely. Feels like I've never done that before. Sean, autopilot. Exactly. That's exactly what that is. Luther, boom, you guys are all over it. Autopilot is a real thing, folks, and it can become a real problem. It can increase your potential for accidents. 1 for yes, 2 for no. Yes, that's correct. The things happen. You're not paying attention to it. If something like this was to happen when you're blind driving, when you're on that autopilot, it is really, really easy for something to happen and you do not even know what's happening. It can be over before you even realize what's gone on. And so blind or autopilot is a very, very, very bad place to be. So make sure you focus on where I'm going. Do something. If you're that lazy 4 a.m. driver, and I see people doing 4 a.m., 5 a.m., I used to start work 3:30, 4 o'clock every morning. I absolutely understand. And I had to force myself to take different routes and do something different to keep myself aware of what I was doing. And so just try to insert that in. Again, the more you practice this, the more you think about it, the more you'll find yourself doing it naturally. And that's what you want. You want to be, well, for lack of a better term, you don't want to be predictable, right? You don't want to do that. All right, Tiger, question.
What?
Black start to black stop. What do you think that means?
Black start to black stop?
Never heard it before.
All right, take a guess.
You're driving at night?
Okay. There's no wrong answers, folks. If you think you know what that means, say it. Black start to black stop.
You forgot to turn on your lights?
Kind of. Luther, no, not dark to work, dark home. So take out the word black. Start to stop. What does that mean?
You hit your gas and you hit your brake.
That's okay. So what people don't necessarily think about is your goal is to get from point A to point B without stopping. Go straight home. There you go, Mike, from beginning to end. How you doing, brother? Good to see you. Thanks for being here. From beginning to end, this is when you want to go from your coin show, go from your coin shop, go from your repository, go from that fine arts exhibit straight to wherever it is that you're going. And it's fine that you don't know. You may have never heard this term before, but most of you have understood all the principles. Okay?
No, I usually decide where I want to go. It's usually, for me, I might go get a bite to eat. I might go to check my P.O. box. Don't normally go straight home. And I am frequently checking all my mirrors. You know,
But
I'm
yeah,
just
so yeah, no, I get you.
I haven't had your training officially, but I've lived in a world where you can't trust anyone. Your best friend will hurt you, and you just don't trust anyone. That develops a set of responses, and it doesn't matter if you're dealing with a family member you don't trust, or if you're in your vehicle around a bunch of vehicles you don't know who the heck they are. There's not a time that I don't have a weapon close by me, and I'm constantly looking around. And granted, I gotta get better at it because I am a little bit wimpy when it comes to this thing. But for the
So
most part,
one of the things, so one of the things, and this is where, if I were doing an assessment on what you just said, I would say you need to work on this one, because these are the things that you need to think about. Now, biological needs, they happen, right? And I have been in situations where I felt fine. I thought I needed to pee, or I thought I needed to use the restroom. And I'm like, no, I'll just do it when I get home. About 5 minutes into it, I'm like, oh, good Lord, I've got to stop now. Yeah. Those happen. But you can normally plan for that by going to the restroom and doing those things before you leave the secure venue. Gas up before you get your money and before you go to and leave the show. Fill up beforehand. If you know you're going to a coin show on Saturday, fill your car up Friday night. Make sure it's full. You do not want to have to stop for gas. You don't want to have to stop for fast food or all that other stuff. Not while you're carrying a ton of money in the car. Limit it to the least frequent amount of stops that you could possibly do. Okay.
Okay.
And so it doesn't matter where that is. The biggest one where most people mess up on, and that's where they become, especially women, become a target, is at the gas station or at the grocery store. They think that they can go in real quick and grab something for dinner at home. Or, hey, you know what? I've got to pick up my son or my daughter something for their soccer game, or I've got to pick up something for my husband who has a meeting, he's got some people coming over, or maybe the coin show is going to be at your house, or the coin discussion is going to be at your house for coin club night. It doesn't matter what it is. Fill all that stuff, get all that stuff done while you don't have your car or yourself loaded with money. Okay. And don't always stop. Yeah, it's exactly right. It's exactly where I'm going, Sean. Don't always stop at the same place every time. Right? Because again, that's predictability. That's pattern. So be very careful with this. Most of you know, if you watched the video that I released right before this, if you didn't, then it is basically OPSEC for storage and security at your home or wherever it is you store your goods. That's after you've bought, right? When you get it home. But on this particular discussion, what I want people to think about is, can you be honest with yourself and say, if I stopped for gas with over $10,000 of inventory sitting in my trunk, would I be okay with that? Because when you're in the moment, it's really easy to think about, hey, you know what? I'll just make a really quick thing. It's really easy, if you're not thinking about these things, to fall into a habit, and it's a bad habit, of, I can do this really quick. Oh, nothing's going to happen this one time. That's the thinking that begins to cause problems. So be careful when you do this. I'm sure all of you, including myself, I've done it a number of times. One of the reasons that I'm doing an assessment. I've got some things I'm working on in 2026 when it comes to this hobby. And securing my family and securing my assets are amongst the tops of them. All right. The last thing, you've made it to your neighborhood. You've gone all the way there. You've not stopped at the gas station. Excuse me. You've not stopped at the gas station. You haven't stopped at the grocery store. You didn't stop to get that French dip sandwich. You got all the way back into your thing. You can just walk into your house.
How
no problem.
did you know?
Well, here's the problem. Your neighborhood and your home is what they call the ambush point. Because this is your final destination. If you have any concerns that you're being followed, again, I said that earlier, don't go home. But if you do, they may not hit you then, but now they know where you're at. They know that you store stuff there, and you've got to be careful because now you've made everybody in that a target. So there's a couple of things that you want to look at, and this may sound crazy, and some of your neighbors may think you're nuts. Okay. Number one, when you get to your home, don't pull straight into your driveway. Drive past your house. Look and see if there's anybody in or near that area. Any strange cars that are parked nearby. Any people jogging or working, like, street workers working at 4 o'clock in the morning on a water line that doesn't have a hole dug, and they're just in a car, but they wear suits like it. People, it's like, oh my God, come on, that doesn't happen. Actually, it does. My neighbor actually had somebody break into his house. They were wearing telephony equipment and had all the stuff was sitting there. They were sitting next to a box talking about something. He came out, said hi, left to go to the grocery store, came back, and they had robbed him. They sat right in his front yard. So he's like, I should have realized it being, they didn't have the right van, but they were sitting there. He's like, all the markers were there. I just didn't think about it. So be careful. The garage trap. If you have a garage, pull in and close the garage before you get out of your car. Just pull in, shut your garage, and then begin unloading. If your car has to be in the driveway, have a family member or a neighbor come over. If they have the capability to do that with a piece, have them bring it. Okay? Do that and have them secure it while you unload. Now, I know this sounds like a lot, and oh my God, really? I mean, I only did $1,000, or I only did whatever. Tiger said something very important earlier. They may think you have more than you have. You don't necessarily know what they're thinking about or how much they think you have. Remember, a lot of people go to these coin shows or these bullions, and they spend tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars. Okay? And so they don't know. Talking with, again, Eric Meyer, the Fun Show, he was talking with a dealer before the show even started. They had the little special walk up where a dealer, he already did $300,000 before the show opened. There's big money that exchanges hands in some of these places. You need to make sure, check exactly. Security's like an onion. It should have layers. Absolutely. And you need to implement these. You have to look around and really check yourself. What's going on? How you doing? I've carried 24/7 for the past 30 years. Is that a pistol in your pocket, or are you just happy to see me? Oh, sorry, babe. I know he's laughing right now. Okay.
All right, Mr. West.
Oh, I know. It's funny.
That's about as old as time.
They call me a pea shooter. Anyway, that's a joke for another day. So again, let's just kind of go through a couple of these really quick. Now, we've already talked about the wealth shield. Looking at those things, and again, you can see that the information is in the chat or in the description of both this video and the video, or this live and the video I just dropped. Go look. If you've seen one, go watch the other. It's kind of the whole package piece deal. Number one, sanitize your appearance. No badges. Take your badge off. Don't brand yourself to the coin show, the art show, whatever it is. Don't brand yourself. Don't tie yourself to that. Rule number two, check your vehicle. Check your tires. Check for loiterers. Make sure any papers or anything are off of your car before you get in. And at any point, if you don't feel right, you don't get that warm fuzzy, turn around, go back inside. Okay? SDR, turn left, turn right, clears a tail. Okay? People drive logically. If you're being followed, notify or drive back to a place that has security, go to a police substation. Don't stop for gas afterwards. Number four, get all your stuff done ahead of time. Go to your place, get your stuff, drive to your location, drive to your vault, wherever it might be, get that done. As yours says, no flashy jewelry. Yeah, you don't want to bring attention to yourself. This is definitely something you want to do. And the last one, check the street, close the garage, get out, have a neighbor, have yourself, whatever you do, make sure that you are protected when you get home. Now, Sean says, something I didn't hear you speak of was the falsehoods of trust. That dude spending a time to the left may be dragging you in a false sense of security. Their money may be stolen and they're fishing. That's true. There's a lot of people at a coin show. There's a lot of people at a coin, and not necessarily at a coin shop, but if you're going to be going to like a distribution center, or you're going to be picking up from somebody. One of the things that we've talked about in another show, and Mike was on this, he talked a lot about the courtesy involved when you're at a coin shop or when you're at a coin show. And one of the things is to be respectful of the people in and around you. If you have somebody that's always on your six, always asking those questions, talking your ear off. Now, I go to a coin show, people recognize me. It's fun. It's a lot of fun to walk in and go, oh my God, you're Frosty. What's going on? I watched you. That's cool. I have different precautions that I take because I actually show my face and I do stuff online. So there's a whole nother level of precautions that I have to take into consideration when I'm doing this. But the one thing that's very important is to make sure that, again, everybody's your friend until they're not. So Sean, that's exactly right. Be careful with that. And again, one of the things I talked about in the other video is loose lips sink ships. Don't go to the bar. Don't be talking. Don't sit there with your badge out. Don't talk about that stuff. Again, that person you've never met before that happens to know who you are, where do they know you from? Right? So, for instance, Tiger walks into a coin shop and
Sounds like a dad joke.
no, it's not a dad joke, but so Tiger walks into a coin shop and they see him and they walk up to him and say, "Hey, what's up, Tiger? Is there a potential problem?"
Yeah, how the hell do you know my face?
Okay. Now, if you hear him speak, you might be like, "Oh my God, you sound like Tiger Stacker." A little bit different, right? But if people know you without necessarily knowing, it's a little bit different story. But for most of you, not everybody has seen your face. Not everybody knows who you are. So if they walk up to you and they know your name, and again, you're not showing that badge, and there's a couple things to look at. There's some things to be careful of. Now, if you have a name tag and you're walking around and people just saw it, then that's fine. But again, just be concerned about it.
But you also have to keep in mind that some people are just intelligent sometimes. I was at Chevella's pawn shop, I don't know, about a month or so ago. I was sitting down on the little chair that they let me hang out with. Um, and this guy walks in and says, "I didn't know you sold coins. I didn't know you sold bullion. I knew you were a pawn shop. I didn't know you did all this." It says, "Well, how did you know?" It says, "Because I watched this guy. He goes by the name Tiger Stacker." Well, Shavella then shoots me a glance. I shoot her a glance, and boom, he made the contact. So, people aren't stupid. You think you're being slick, you're not. Then they don't have to be there to cause you any trouble. But, some people are just highly intelligent. And unfortunately, a lot of criminals are highly intelligent. They just don't want to have a job.
That's a fact. Yep, that is a fact.
So, as far as I'm concerned, they cause trouble for me, especially at my home. My job is to take them out, and that's just the way it is. So when he made that contact, I gently went into it, started assessing his body language, his facial responses, and quickly determined he wasn't a threat after all. He was there strictly because he really did not know the pawn shop he'd gone to had coins. And I might not know all the lingo that Frosty does, but I'm no one's fool. I read body language, I read facial language very quickly, and I've been able to do it through multiple different language barriers.
And you
So
guys know Tiger's a smart guy, right? He's a doctor. If you were to put words behind smart, the first one would be ass. But sorry, he's my buddy. I got to pick on him.
I want to use though.
Yeah, exactly. So I want to ask you a question. You mentioned something when we were talking earlier, and you mentioned Shavella. Now, again, we talk about coin shops and coin shows, and we've heard Yankee talk about this. We've seen a number of different people. As Yuri says, it doesn't matter where he's going; he's packing. Have you ever gone to a coin shop or a coin show where they didn't carry?
To my knowledge, no. Some are better at hiding it than others. Shavella, if you've seen my videos, she's a skinny lady, and she doesn't really wear a ton of loose clothing. But she has ways of hiding firearms that I didn't think about when you're skinny and you don't wear loose clothing. Besides, she also has a couple strategically located in her facility. Then there's a couple other bigger guys. I mean, bigger guys. They make me look small. And, they work for her. And I'm sure that they're packing as well. So you got multiple different angles. Then if I'm there, I'm packing. So, it's not a good idea to go out in this world, especially if you're going to do this and not
Yeah.
have the third most precious metal, lead.
Exactly. Yeah. Lead is something that we definitely going to do. Now, gold maple kind of read into where I am going into. We're going to talk about that. Sean says, I'm a fan of open carry, but some states and venues don't allow it. That is absolutely true. You definitely need to understand the venue that you're going to and make sure that you understand the rules. There are some places that have coin venues that are on military bases. You cannot take a firearm onto a military base. We have a Veterans of Foreign Wars, a VFW, and they will do those. You cannot take a firearm onto there. They will have guards stationed on standby. And again, they'll talk to you about OPSEC and stuff like that, but you cannot carry those onto those premises. So make sure that if you're going somewhere, you know what the rules are, because it doesn't matter if your state allows open carry. If it is posted and you violate that, there are consequences and you have to be careful. So make sure.
Really weird, because people who open carry, the percentages of them being a criminal are low. It's the concealed carry is the percentages gets a little higher. The other thing I wanted to point out is here in West Virginia, you don't have to have a concealed carry permit to conceal carry. I do, because if I ever happen to leave the state, I have reciprocity. People who don't, they leave the state, they got themselves trouble.
Yeah, you're going to have to make sure you understand the laws. Now, you're part of a program that helps with that. If you get into any issues when you have to actually utilize that piece, what is the name of that agency called?
USCCA.
So let's talk a little bit about the USCCA. What do they do? And by the way, folks, this is not a sponsorship. Anybody that we mentioned, we're not sponsors for. Nobody's getting money for any of these things. These are just good things to know. This is actual security discussion. And again, if you're liking the conversation, you like the content, please make sure you subscribe. And if you find this valuable, send this to people that need to know it. It really is important. So let's talk about that, Tiger.
United States Concealed Carry Association, if I remember correctly. It's a very good organization. They've been around for a long time, and they've gone through different stages of what they do, in what they offer. They do offer a lot of online educational stuff that will teach you how to handle different situations, how to handle your weapon. They also have, and their biggest thing from my concern is when you're a member, you have insurance. So if you have to deal with your weapon or another weapon, say a bladed weapon, or say what they call a weapon of opportunity, you grab a baseball bat or a golf club, or let's say your dog just happens to protect you, whether they're trained or not, even more so if they're trained, you're covered. You are absolutely covered. I have it for me. I have it for Mrs. Tiger. And I know that the dogs that I have here, if they go after someone, all I got to do is do the same thing as if it was any other type of weapon. I pull out my card. On the card, you have the phone number to talk to. On the back of the card is basic instructions on what to say and not to say until you have legal representation.
So Sean says reciprocity is a very contended bit of law, and he's glad you brought it up. Can you talk a little bit about reciprocity, what gun reciprocity is?
Basically, it's kind of like you have the rights in one state and another state recognizes your rights from that state, and pretty much it goes the other way around. So it goes vice versa. So, you know, I am hearing that there's a push for national reciprocity no matter what state. I don't know if that's gone through or not.
Not
It
yet.
might not, but I'm sure that when uh, people who are gun toters, gun lovers, NRA members are no longer in office and the left tends to take over, there's going to be a push against the opposite. It tends to go back and forth. However, yeah, every time I go to a place now, work as a traveling ER doctor. We call them locum tenens, and it happens a lot. A lot of ER doctors don't work anywhere close to where they live. So every place I ever go, I pal up with the local police and I ask them what the rules are. When I was going to New Mexico, I didn't want to have to deal with TSA. There's ways to get through TSA with your weapon. I chose not to do it because I didn't want to take that chance, but I could have. And I went to New Mexico and I spoke to the police that were there, and they're like, "Yeah, you just, your weakest point will be TSA, but you're allowed, et cetera. You got reciprocity with West Virginia." And they asked me where the weapon was. I told them home because I didn't want to have to deal with TSA. However, I have toyed with the idea of getting some place, I don't know, like um, like a vault or something, and just keeping a weapon in New Mexico. I never did it, but I thought about it so that when I'm there, I go there, I pick up my weapon. When I get ready to leave, I deposit it. I go back to West Virginia. But reciprocity basically means that the rules that you have in West Virginia apply in the other state, but there may be some altercations because that state's rules may be a little bit different. You have to be really careful with it. And when I was going from West Virginia to Virginia, I knew what the rules were because I spent a good bit of time on the phone with USCCA and getting them to get me on the website, so I knew what I was up against.
So one thing that I want to do as a quick reference for people, a lot of people are like, well, reciprocity confuses me. Don't. Every one of you use it every time you cross state lines. You just don't realize it. Your driver's license. Your driver's license is reciprocity. It's accepted in every state. It doesn't really matter. You get pulled over, you have a driver's license. They know you have a valid driver's license. You agree, they honor that. The difference with this particular license is that not every state explicitly agrees to honor it. And you do need to check with local enforcement to do so. So if you're trying to understand what reciprocity is, just think of your driver's license. It's the best way to think about it.
That's a good point.
Well, a lot of people don't think about reciprocity in the form of that. And again, it's like licensure, right? You're a physician. Some licenses, depending upon where you serve, can be utilized in multiple states. Others you can't. I think Nebraska is a good example of that. A Nebraska license can basically be used everywhere. They allow that. But not every state allows that. And so you have to make sure, it doesn't matter what you're doing, you just have to make sure that it allows it. So do your research when you look at that. But before this gets too far out of the way, I want to address something that Gold Maple said. And I did this for a very specific reason, and I told you during the video I was going to come back to this. How many people noticed the OPSEC slide that I utilized in the previous video? If you didn't, you'll be like, I have no idea what the hell you're talking about. And that's fine. I can actually pull it up and show you. Okay. So if you do remember it, put a 1 in chat. If you don't, put a 2 in chat.
This one here?
Nope.
Nope.
It was actually in the video.
Okay.
Ground fog, reciprocity changes. That is a fact. You may go one time and not go the next, and that law has changed. So you need to be careful. Mike has no idea what I'm talking about. No problem. Well, I'm going to go ahead and flash this up. Are you guys ready?
Okay.
Now, I don't know how this is going to look on the vertical stream. So if it doesn't look on the vertical stream, I will try to adjust it. So bear with me. I will show this.
Vertical to see if it's going to be that way.
Yeah, so I'm checking it. So this is the OPSEC slide. And I'm going to leave this right here for just a moment. Now, why would I have put this picture when we talk about OPSEC? Because there's a couple things here that not only, as I said earlier, ladies, if you're going to a bar with some friends, you need to be watching your drinks. There are tons and tons and tons of stuff about this. Go with a group of people, never get let off alone. All of those all those pieces of information can be applied to personal life, not associated with the wealth of coins or money or bullion. Every one of these has insights. But gentlemen, listen to me carefully. Remember that comment about trusting sources? We're coin collectors. Girls don't like us. They think we're weird. We spend a lot of money to buy money. That's crazy.
And we're not spending it on them, so they're a little bit even more mad.
But I am being funny, obviously. But people use attractive men and women all the time to get information from you. It is the number one way that people will investigate and watch you and lure you into giving more information than you should. They'll feed you a drink or two, do whatever, get you talking. Loose lips sink ships. You'll be talking about your stack and what you have before you know it. Be very careful who you share your information around. Be very careful talking about the stuff that you carry. And ladies, if you're at a bar, watch your drinks. Get together with people you can trust. Make sure that you guys go to a place and in this picture, there's 4 ladies here. Make sure that all 4 of you leave together. Don't let one person walk off. There's got to be some call out words. There's got to be some safe practices. Know the secret word. Yeah, that's only a problem if you don't know sign language. That is a bad joke. But again, so you'll want to do this. You'll find really, really quickly. It doesn't matter if it's security, if it's in your private world. Attractive people are used all the time to pull information from people. So be careful with it. That's the reason I showed this particular slide. So just be cautious about it. I'm not going to do or say any more about it. This isn't a sexist or chauvinistic statement. It is simply the truth. There is a movie with Jean-Claude Van Damme where they spike his drink and take his kidney. He wakes up in a bathtub full of blood. Yeah. So again, it doesn't really matter. This is something that happened during the 90s. Tiger, you probably remember the black market kidney ring where they would, college students, they were medical students. This was a freaking scary thing. They got together and they would put something in the drink. They would give them a quick 2-hour, 3-hour sedative. They would remove their kidneys or their kidney or a portion of their liver or whatever and pin a note to their shirt. When they look down, it's call the paramedics immediately. You've lost a kidney.
I'm not that criminal minded. I've never heard of that.
So there is, and I'll have to show you the case. It was pretty wicked. So there's a lot of things of being careful with, and I don't want to freak anybody out over this discussion, but loose lips are one of those major things. It's a military statement from my Navy days, but again, it stuck with me forever. People who run their mouth make themselves bigger targets. So be very, very careful, right? Don't share your stuff. Be careful who you surround yourself with. And again, assume everybody's out for something. And I don't mean that negatively. You need to protect yourself. So put those things into consideration. Do you have anything that you would like to add, Tiger, before we wrap this up?
Well, I would like to let everyone know, in case you're interested, my brother-in-law unexpectedly sent me a really awesome music video. And those of you who know what I'm talking about, I've gone through some surgery for breast cancer, and been fighting cancer with chemotherapy and all that. My brother-in-law, who is my tech, who gives me better quality than I can do myself. Um, we have become extremely close over the years, even more so since YouTube. But he sent me a very loving song that he had generated on the computer. So if you are interested, go see it. It's really awesome. Um, there's too much of this negativity in the world, where we have to be protective of this and protective of that. And there's not enough honesty and compassion and humanity and love for each other. So when it does happen and it happens in a big way, let's all revel in it because we don't get it often enough. So if you want to, please go over to the channel. It was released earlier today, and enjoy the fact that we can still care about each other and love each other. And it was, thank you, El. It was. I mean, I didn't see it coming. When I woke up and I saw that, I just broke down in tears. I've watched that thing at least 200 times. And when he mentioned about, my wife being so important to me, I've snuck in on her and kissed her while she was asleep because I'm usually awake at night. But we need to be more than just a really good community, okay? Some of us are better than others, but we really need to be the best of ourselves to help each other out, and please be kind to each other, okay? Appreciate this guy up here because he's always teaching. His jokes are horrible, but he's always teaching. That now the other thing is, if you find it in your heart, come over to my channel, hit the like and subscribe, and this and all that, and same with Frosty up there. But I've got another video coming out that I'm working on regarding prepping in a different way. I don't want to give it all away, but it was mentioned to me by my members. One of the many things that they wanted me to go into. It's coming. Okay. Okay. Yeah, spokojna noche. Sorry, I had to tell the wife good night. So I think I've pretty much said everything. Come back, hang out with us. We'll try to teach you something, and let's take care of each other. What do you have?
I just want to thank everyone for being here. This is a very tough topic. Sean says this is one of the best lives he's been a part of. Thank you. It's something that many people don't talk enough about. And again, I've given you the survivability tool to check this stuff at home, but make sure that you are implementing things on your way there and back. Member for 2 months. What's going on, Stacking Surfer? Good to see you. Thank you so much for being here. I just want to say thank you for being here. Again, if you like this and you're listening, please consider subscribing. But if you found it valuable, please share it. There are tons of people who could benefit from hearing this. And again, this is all about serving the community. So thank you guys so much for being here tonight. Thank you for coming and hanging out with us. And you know what?